Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to my Dantalion character guide. My name is James, I'm a global player and I started playing Sword of Convallaria in September 2024. I'm a longtime strategy and turn-based RPG fan with the Fire Emblem series, Tactics Ogre, and Unicorn Overlord as some recent titles I enjoy. I'm a PvE focused player in Sword of Convallaria. I have no interest or knowledge of PvP. As a global player, I lack the technical knowledge and exposure to the Taiwan and China scenes. As a result, I'm subject to feedback and I'm open to being wrong. If you come across conflicting information to other guides and creators, then there are absolutely multiple ways to play a character. Play your way. As a fun fact about myself, I am a Thai tea boba enjoyer. Dantalion's trait is Path of Kingship. This ability allows him to regain health and restore energy anytime a character, ally, or enemy dies in battle, and this makes him strong on any maps with high target count. His initial skill is Dawn Light. This is a single target ranged attack that deals magic damage. It dispels two buffs on an enemy and converts them into debuffs. At rank 1, your options are Inspired Healing or Unsheathed. Which skill you pick depends on how you play Dantalion in the long term. If you plan to play a melee-oriented Dantalion, select Unsheathed. This will mean having more melee skills than range skills, such as Shield Break Attack and Endless Dawn later in the skill tree. However, note the Vulnerable to debuff is applied on shield targets with any ability and is not restricted to active melee attacks. At rank 1, my pick here was Inspired Healing. At rank 3, your options are Daybreak or Energy Depleting Blow. Daybreak offers more utility, inflicting AoE healing received and dispelling 2 buffs. Energy Depleting Blow with a 4-turn cooldown means it stalls, but does not lock down a target from casting skills. If locking down a target from skills is your goal, you may prefer the active skill debuff instead. These skills are unlikely to be a regular part of Dantalion's skill build, so if you cannot decide, select based on the HP or defense stat gain. My pick here at rank 3 was Daybreak. At rank 5, I recommend Heir of Royalty. Heir of Royalty mitigates damage from melee attacks. Tenacity mitigates damage from Watchers, which are ordinarily ranged attacks from archers or support units. Regardless if you play a more melee or ranged-oriented Dantalion, he is still susceptible to taking melee damage, which covers a wider range of class types. At rank 7, I recommend his Iria Leader's Aura for Iria. Iria has the biggest character roster, and inflicting debuffs are a core part of combat strategy. Dantalion's Leader's Aura should easily be activated and benefit a wide array of units. Destructive Storm covers a fairly wide radius, but loses value when you have other sources of level 2 attribute debuffs. For his basic attack upgrade, I recommend White Sword. White Sword gives Dantalion a ranged basic attack that does magic damage. In scenarios where ranged or magic damage are less effective, you can still swap to his initial basic attack. If you're more invested into playing Dantalion as a melee unit, then pick up Shield Break Attack. At rank 11, I recommend Endless Dawn. Endless Dawn begins with a single target physical attack, followed by a cleave magic attack, then a knockback. Although Endless Dawn covers a 3x3 area, no enemy must be targeted to cast this ability. Legacy of Comrades may see some extremely niche use in compositions with summon allies. The heal is somewhat redundant because Dantalion's trait already heals himself, and if you're looking for level 2 buffs, I advise other character sources. For a ranged magic build, consider White Sword, Dawn Light, for Iria, and Inspired Healing. This build focuses on dealing ranged magic damage, casting Dawn Light as Dantalion's primary energy dump, and casting White Sword in between casts. Note Dantalion is dependent on kills in between turns to fuel his Dawn Light casts. Inspired Healing can be substituted for another utility skill. For a melee mixed damage build, consider Shield Break Attack, Endless Dawn, for Iria, and Unsheathed. This build focuses on Dantalion fighting in melee, while also being a shield breaker with Shield Break Attack and Unsheathed. Note Dantalion is dependent on kills in between turns to fuel his Endless Dawn casts. For weapon recommendations, consider Newborn Blade or Ever-Burning Blade. Newborn Blade is the most reliable and accessible way to increase Dantalion's damage. Ever-Burning Blade is another good single target option, especially if you're casting Dawnlight over consecutive turns, but it is contingent on targets being scorched. Not pictured here is Beheading Machete. Among all current sword users, Dantalion can most frequently perform ranged attacks, so it is easier for him to fight from highland positions. He may be one of the few niche candidates for Beheading Machete, provided he can maintain high uptime on highland. For Trinkets, consider Evergreen Pendant primarily to gain buffs from his trait's self-healing. The more kills in between turns, then the more Evergreen Pendant will activate. You can consider Cooling Powder to protect his self-healing from his trait, or Origin Hourglass for a straight physical attack increase. For Taros, as Dantalion excels on maps with high target count, Temptation of the Devil best fuels that even further. Otherwise, Dantalion has one of the highest HP bases in the game, ranking behind Guzman among destroyers and behind Coco and Mytha among defenders. It's not unreasonable to consider Fool's Naivety, but if you cannot secure the damage increase conditions, then look towards Hierophant's Laws or Dream of the Magician. For Engravings, Sword and Wand is a safe, general use option to increase Dantalion's attack and defense. On the other hand, as Dantalion can self-heal and sustain himself on maps with high target counts, it is absolutely viable and reasonable to consider the Sword and Pentacle Resonance. To provide some composition and usage tips, as iterated, Dantalion has a flexible skill kit that allows him to be dedicated to fighting in melee or from ranged. Part of mastering him will be recognizing when one style is more effective than the other. Dantalion has a base speed of 175. This puts his speed behind Breakers and relatively on par with Seekers. However, the difference when comparing to Seekers is that Dantalion has the base move of 3 tiles, whereas most Seekers can move 5 tiles. As such, even if Dantalion can fight from ranged, consider supporting him with speed or move buffs to keep up with the rest of the group. Dantalion is also part of the Iria and Fortitude categories. Consider building a team with Dantalion around his Iria aura and or with Magnus's Fortitude aura. Magnus's Blood and Steel decreases damage taken when healthy and enables Dantalion to become immune to the negative effects of injured. Inanna possesses Soulmate. This is a great ability to have in an Irian team, providing attack and defense buffs. This concludes my character guide. As mentioned in my disclaimer, I welcome feedback and I'm open to being wrong. I'm still learning and improving just like you are. Once again, if you find conflicting information to other guides or content creators, then that means there are multiple ways to build a character and still achieve success. If you have any feedback for me, please feel welcome to comment below. I also have my various social media platforms on this slide here. Last but not least, I want to credit and shout out these resources that helped me put this guide together. Voyage Memento for their character build samples and reference links, the Sword of Convallaria No Potion fan site for skill images and skill descriptions, the Sword of Convallaria Cloud Drop Wiki for skill filtering and gear images, and the Billy Game and Game Key Chinese sites for character art assets. I highly recommend visiting these links to build your Sword of Convallaria knowledge. Thank you so much for watching this character guide, and I will see you in the next one.